Hi everyone. I'm super excited that all you are here. Maybe we'll say a few words about our WeTech club in Austin. Three active women like Ola, Yulia, and me, we met and decided, we need maybe club WeTech in Austin and speak about career, women in career, and so on, here with women from Austin and so on. And when we thought about the topics, what we're talking about, maybe a few of you was in another one topics here. So we thought that really in leadership here, in leadership in business, you don't see a lot of women in top positions. And I made my investigation with Gemini, with deep research, and it was very interesting that, for example, now in the United States, only 25% women on the top level positions. And when I decided to see why, it was a lot of reasons, really a lot. But one of it was that we don't have a lot of examples to follow for whom. And after this, I decided, we are doing a great job. And that's why I'm really appreciative for our speakers who come to us and who can share their real life stories. Thank you so much about this. Thank you. And let's enjoy. Thank you for coming to us.
Yes, and our moderator today is one of the partners here in Austin, and she will present herself and start the conversation. But before that, just one more round of applause for all of you here for showing up and for our speakers.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Ola. I also work at Expedia. I do performance marketing. And as Yulia mentioned, I thought that this is going to be a really great topic because growing up, I had a really cool example of a mom, strong moms, but she also told me that you might not be a boss one day. And I think it's a part of our culture, of Ukrainian culture, and I always wanted to probably say, why? Can you explain me why? But I never heard a normal answer. And moving to America and seeing opportunities that there are presented for women, I was like, that's my chance to shine. And now I would love to start this conversation with the amazing speakers we have today, because I want to learn myself on how can I reach that level. If I want to be CMO one day, what do I have to do? And I would really appreciate you guys sharing like a candid insights into your experiences. So thank you all for coming. And we're going to start. We have two speakers today. We have Lisa Hendrickson. She is Global Head of Partnership at S&P Global, S&P One. She's done a lot of amazing stuff. She works in sustainability, onboarding lots of partners across the world. She also did some, she was a COO, right, at HSCC. Global luxury interior design company. She will present herself as well, but I think she has a lot of really cool experiences in her life and that she can share. We also have Caroline Waugh. She's a global head of engineering, right? Okay, good.
There's other stuff too, but I can talk about it.
My memory sometimes is...
That's the me. I'm the intern, I just have this title, you
know. On Location, a TKO company. It's a really big company, as I understand. You guys doing a lot of streaming, right, of the events?
No, what we do is we do VIP hospitality experiences for marquee events. Maybe you heard of the Super Bowl, maybe you've heard of World Cup, maybe you've heard of the Olympics, but it's quite exciting to be a part of that because you get to see how these events really transpire and the complexity of the operations behind them. But we can talk more about that later.
Yep, and she leads a team of more than 125
people. So I lead the global head of engineering, architecture, and tech services, which encompasses security, compliance, platform engineering, site reliability engineering, other fun things I can't remember right now because I just show up and do whatever my boss says.
So we have two amazing speakers here today. Would you like to add anything, Lisa, about yourself?
Actually,
I don't really like to, I did this and then I did that and then I did this. What I'd really like for you all to know is, one, I'm completely honored to be here today to speak with all of you. One, I just want to say, for anyone who's Ukrainian, thank you so much for being the bulwark against authoritarianism and aggression.
Thank you.
I know things are dicey. I'm going to leave it at that. But really, there is so much appreciation. And if anyone has a sense of history, if anyone ever went to school that day where they tell you about this is what happened with the world, we certainly are appreciative to know that. I don't necessarily. So what I'd love to be able to say is, like, in reading all of, like, she did this, it sounds fascinating, but what I want you to know is the accessibility, and not just the titles that I had, but really the attitude I had was really pay it forward, and getting ahead means helping others be able to succeed in what they want to do, and also have just real clarity, and I'm looking forward to speaking about that. So it's not so much about the title, it's about what I got to do with, it's called Power, ladies, with the power that I
Thank you.
get to.
And
I agree with that.
we met with Lisa. She does amazing Meetup, Austin sustainability professionals, because I'm into sustainability, and she does a really great job with bringing all the sustainability professionals in Austin area together to collaborate on the. So if you ever see it online, please come and join. And you're interested in sustainability, you're also looking for volunteers, I know, to help with the events. So we can start now.
Okay.
I'm like excited to go talk to you after this.
Yes,
Sustainability.
You should
like,
come.
hey,
It's a really
It's a
fun
whisper
event.
network. I'll tell you all about it.
It's a really cool network. I agree. So we're gonna start first with the personal branding and growth question. How did you establish your personal brand, and how did it evolve over time? Carolyn, would you like to start?
So I think the important thing about personal brand is the difference. I think people have asked me, what's the difference between your reputation and your personal brand? So your reputation is more passive. What do people think about you with you having no control over the narrative? Personal brand is where you drive it. You say, I want to be known for X. I want to be known for these things internally to the organization, to the outside world. And by taking control of the narrative, right, you will operate in a very different way because you are taking control of the narrative. So if I want to be known as a security expert, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to think about, how do I want to be known as that, right? Do I need to be having conversations internally? Do I need to drive certain initiatives, et cetera? It's not going to just show up one day. And the worst thing you can do is have a very passive attitude to your personal brand, because people will just show up and think, oh, you know, Susan's a hard worker. What does that mean? How do you differentiate yourself if you want to separate, you know, from the 8,000 other people that are hard workers? You want to get ahead. You are competing constantly, right, in the corporate world. So understanding what do you want to be known for, and it can be as creative as you want. There's no wrong or right answer, but it does require you to do some homework. And your personal brand will evolve over time, because as you're getting more senior in your career, you want to be known for different things, right? I'm not hands-on keyboard anymore. I wish I was, guys. It's much more enjoyable. There's something very rewarding about being in engineering when you get to code and build something and put it out there. But now I get to be involved in a different way of making things come to life, where you're not hands-on keyboard, sure, but you get to now assemble teams and empower them to deliver things and execute, and then bring them along for the ride. So my personal brand when I was more junior in my career was, I'm a good hands-on keyboard. I'm an engineer. You throw anything at me, I won't be scared. No technology changes will frighten me. I love it. Anything changing is great. And then you get more senior, you're going to, so not everybody. Some people want to stay close to the operator/practitioner side, and that's okay. For me, I was like, I want to be known more for driving things to success and making order out of chaos. That was part of my taglines for my personal brand now. So just, it will evolve over time depending on what you want to be known for as you go along. And there's no wrong or right answer. Again, you could be, you know, staying in a line that is staying close to the doing, and still be like known as a master of your craft, versus always having to progress into like a leadership role. But it does matter on how you want to be known, because what you want to do is have people recognize you for these additional attributes that you drive and steer and control the narrative around.
Yeah, I agree with every.
Do you want to switch?
I just turned it on. I turned it off so I don't have like blink or something, you know. So, you know, I want to add to that. Personal brand is really owning your own narrative.
And it's not fixed because we evolve over time. And so we think about, earlier in your career, a lot of the time, we're grappling with, who am I in this? What do I want to make happen? What should I be putting out there? And you think, I'm going to do this resume, and this resume will tell my whole story. But your resume, again, I did this, I did this, I did this, rather than what is it that we actually believe in and make. And I think as you progress in your career, one of the things that you'll be able to see is, what's my position on something? Right? What is the stand I'm willing to make and take? Like when I say pay it forward, I don't want to hire people if they don't have that attitude. And they don't have to say, I'm going to pay it forward. But I look at what does, courtesy, respect mean? How do I help somebody else inside of it and see what those behaviors actually mean to somebody? So for me, that is something that's really core, is that you hear so many people say, hey, I'm here to make a difference. Well, it's almost meaningless. It's like, what does that mean? What does make a difference actually mean? So as you're evolving your brand, you want people, and actually I just relaunched my website, literally. I just got the mobile done. Everybody pick out the problems with it, but you could look at it at lisahendrickson.me. And part of it is really looking at core, what do I want to tell people? And part of why I just sent you to my website, not because you should all look at it, but I put out an ethos. After I'm saying I'm purpose-driven, well, what does that mean? Well, I drive behind a purpose of something to accomplish things. But even beyond that, what's the ethos? I want to be able, I don't want to punch a clock. I want to rework the clock so that it works for everyone, right? That is part of my DNA. And when we can assemble our personal brand behind who we really are, what is most elemental to ourselves and core, we're able to express that and take a leadership position. Because one of the things when we talk about competition and career, there's hundreds of thousands of partnership people out there. But what makes me different is my willingness to put a stake in the ground, be able to say, this is what I actually believe in. I'm not here for everyone. Some people will go, don't like it, don't like it. Great. The more no there is, by the way, the closer I am to yes. If you are selling to everyone, you're selling to no one.
I love you said that so much, because I think that when people are uncertain and when people are more junior, there's insecurity about, how do I get this job?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, is this the right fit?
Yeah.
You don't want to be something to everybody. You say, what do you stand for? What is important to you?
Right.
And if the place ends up not working out, things happen for a reason. I know it's a cliche, but it really is.
Yeah,
Seriously.
but you will eject yourself.
Yeah.
You'll fire yourself from the job that you don't like, that doesn't fit, that doesn't work anymore. You're like, I'm going to fire myself somehow. Your boredom, you're quiet quitting. You're like, how long can I do this? Oh, there's my check in my bank. That looks amazing. It does look amazing. That's the reward that you get for what it costs you. Everything costs you something. And so even the things that you really enjoy doing, there is a cost to you. And so you want to make sure that the exchange of that energy is worthwhile for the output that you get.
Wonderful. I always, when I change job, I'm like, oh my God, I worked there for a year. Why did I? And it was just not
It's like a relationship,
working
guys.
out.
Jobs are like dating, okay? Let's be very clear. It's sometimes you're in hindsight, why did I stay there for so long?
Mm-hmm.
I know, working weekends, maybe not the right fit.
No.
How, this understanding what brand you are, how long did it take you both to get to that stage when you were early in your career? Did you think about that stuff? Is it good to start thinking about it when you're junior?
Yeah, when I have sessions and I do some mentorship for university students, I'm asking them, what do you want to be known for? What do you think your personal brand should be? And they're just like, what are you even talking about? I'm like, guys, this is why we're asking about it now. Because I didn't think about that stuff at all in college, in my first job, second job. No, I didn't care. I was going through the motions of, oh, I'm going to earn a paycheck. But then again, when you get to that point in your career, you're like, I feel like I'm stalling out. Why? It's because all that matters is everyone knows that you're just a hired hand and you're doing what they ask you.
Yeah.
That's not enough. So then you start thinking why. You start to question, like, what do I want to be known for? Because I feel like I'm not getting recognized for what I know I'm really good at. And then you start to challenge. So if you can think about it now, 100%. Think about it, please.
See, but those are the things where you start getting clarity of like, what's your trajectory? Where do you really, and you don't need to know everything, you guys. Nobody knows. Like I was telling you, I'm the first generation of my family to go to college. My dad said to me one day, he goes, Lisa, you should go to college. And I said, why, Dad? And he goes, I don't know. You're smart. Work it out. God bless you. Like, that's it, right? I did not have anybody saying, you go, girl, other than, yeah, you go, girl. What does that mean? I don't know, right? I don't know. And I just went and figured it out myself, right? I always feel like I'm 10 years late to everything, but it always ends up, the timing just works out great, right? Why? Because I worked for this VC guy who will be unnamed. He was like, I have never met someone who is so smart and so stupid at the same time. Oh, no. I mean, you will hear some things. And I was like, well, he's probably right, because I really did grow up in a rural environment. I look very New York, but I did grow up in New Mexico. And I didn't know anything. But I had like raw brain power and intelligence. I had a dogged willingness to do anything to figure it out, There's no one who ever outworked me. Nobody worked harder. Nobody was smarter. But I still had to take that road because I still started where I started. And when you think about personal brand, it's when you can have a clarity of a place that you want to go. And you will find yourself in places that are so remarkable that you can't imagine how you actually got there. But there is no blueprint. There is no real roadmap. And it doesn't come completely clear. So part of it is always being able to be a work in progress, but having a trajectory, a 35,000-foot view of who do you want to be, and then aligning what your belief system is. Like, who are you? Like, you look at my website, you're like, I get what she just said. She's that. And if I don't like that, I'm pretty much not going to like her. I'm cool with it. We're good, right? But being able to take that vision and be able to, like a rocket ship, get yourself in the direction, and you're going to mess up, and you're going to do things, it's going to be embarrassing, and like all those things, and then it'll be wonderful. And sometimes it's wonderful. And then it gets to just be a mess again, right? It's just, it's life, right? And it's all reflected in how you're figuring all that out.
I think that it is helpful to have some kinds of frameworks to help you put that homework in, though. Because, like, where do you even start, right?
Yeah.
And there are some great ways you can look at it. Like, I ask people to do the homework of going analog, go to a coffee shop, or go to a bar or brewery, I don't care, but focus, put your phone off and take a pad and pen, and on one page write down what really restores me. Mm-hmm. Anything at all in the world, okay? Anything. Walking your dog, or running a meeting that's well organized, and go somewhere. Anything, there's no wrong answer. And the more you start to just brain dump on these things, and the next you focus on what depletes you. And just the more honest you are as you do this homework, the better outcomes you start to see. Themes emerge, basically, okay? That's the point. What themes emerge that are going to give you an idea of who you are and what's important to you. Yep. But if you don't do the homework, you're just going to sit there and just spin. So I think frameworks are really important to get to like a bias to action, to coming to that answer, right? And then another thing I ask people to do is, what motivates you? And people struggle with that one a lot because everyone's on autopilot pretty much, right? You go through the day-to-day of like the grind, right? You should wake up, shower, eat breakfast, show up at work, do your thing on your laptop for 8 or 9, 10 hours, go home, feed the dog, say hi to the kids. and you're not ever thinking about what motivates me because you're on autopilot. So thinking about that homework assignment is also important. And then what is table stakes, like deal breaker to you? And that's important too, because that's where you have to find out what's important to you and what's something you should not ever compromise on. Like, I refuse to ever compromise on a place that rewards misogyny. Gonna get out of there, you know? It's just like, don't get me wrong, no place is perfect, but places that are blatant about it, not interested. So it's less about work, it's just understanding you, yourself, and that does have impact on you figuring out your personal brand. So what restores you, what depletes you, what motivates you, and what frustrates and is table stakes you just don't want to ever deal with, just that stuff. And there's no, just the more you can brain dump, it's an ongoing multi-day, multi-week exercise. And that can help you get to some idea of what you're about. Because otherwise you just sit there and you just swirl, you know, you're sitting there like playing around your phone and you're like, oh, I'm going to think about it, kind of. But if you don't put the work in, you're never going to get to the answer. That's the problem.
And just remember, there's always a brand refresh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Every couple of years, you would say?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, depends.
It depends, okay.
The mood,
Depends on
sometimes
the
every
mood.
month.
That can be a difficult exercise to do. Every weekend, you saying to your friends, like, sorry,
I'm kidding, no.
I'm reflecting today on my life.
No, definitely not.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love that. I really enjoyed you saying that you feel like you're 10 years behind. I feel sometimes I'm 10 years behind.
What do you mean by 10 years behind on what, by the way?
'Cause
I don't know.
later.
I'm always like, you know, sometimes there are people talking about misogyny. You're like, that person thinks they were born on third base and they hit a home run.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I started at the beginning and go, I'm sorry, baseball, what? I'm sorry, excuse me? Like that. Like, I had to learn all of that. And so I felt like it took me, I'm like, I'm smart and ignorant. I mean, it is a powerful, powerful way to, like, walk into places.
Yeah, makes total sense. Next question I have is, I think is probably everybody can agree that we have it from time to time, is on imposter syndrome. And, you know, have you experienced it? Have you experienced it in a leadership role, like the roles you have now? And what advice would you give to women on, or like practical exercises or something on how to deal with it?
I mean, I still struggle with it. Just to let you know, it's a thing. It doesn't just disappear just because you get to that level you think you want to get to. I'll give you some examples. Like, I got recently promoted to the SLT, okay? I'm like, why? I'm like, why? What do I have to add? I'm like, I just show up here. I'm like, they're like, Carolyn, like, you have helped transform this company that used to operate here, and now they're operating here. But I'm just like, what? And I'm serious. It's weird. You're just like, okay. And I don't know what it is. It's really hard. I don't know. Maybe part of it's like cultural upbringing, where you're just like taught as an Asian, it's tough sometimes to be like, hey, just, you're supposed to do this. You don't really reward yourself or get a moment to appreciate things. You're just like autopilot of, do it, okay? You're there, now what? Instead of taking that moment to pause and go, oh, that's an accomplishment, right? And then on top of that, there's like moments when you talk to someone and then they say something so crazy obvious and you feel like you're just getting gaslighted. You're like, wait, what? And you know your stuff, but the imposter syndrome kicks in. You're like, no, I must be wrong. What the heck? When it's just crazy. It's constant, but it's an ongoing thing you have to just temper. It doesn't go away though. I'm just letting you know, like for me, I'm saying, not for you, but for me, it's weird, but it's something I struggle with. And I'm not sure, I'd love to hear your experiences.
I mean, the way I feel about, there's a couple of things. One, I've always had a good sense of humor about myself and a lot of humility. So I'm not afraid to cover up. I'm never afraid to ask a question. I'll be like, so just pretend I'm ignorant. It's a really nice run-in for me, but I am ignorant in many, right? So I'm not afraid to ever say that. And the more you ask questions inside of it, be a detective. And you'll say, oh, well, I understand that, right? Or a circumstance that may seem outsized for you in some way. And ask the questions. Right? I think that is because we can always overcome what we don't know. The other part about walking to a room, you have to have an extraordinary amount of self-talk and self-awareness. And part for me would be, you know, to chip away at the imposter syndrome is like, why not me? You know, you're like, you know, Is that me? No, that can't be me. Well, why not me? Well, of course me. Of course I can do that. Yes, of course me. Because out of all the choices, out of the realm of the entire realm of possibilities, well, why not me? Why
Love
me?
it. It's like
Why
Jedi
not?
mind tricks, right? You have to deal with yourself.
Yeah.
You do.
A total Jedi mind
It's a conscientious
trick.
thing. You have to.
Walk in.
You're right. You have to have that, adopt that mindset. 'Cause otherwise, you're right. You'll maybe start to like go, okay, am I going to look like an idiot at today's call, or like in this new group I have to talk to that's very senior? Am I going to
Yeah.
look like a moron? Versus going, yeah, why not me? Like, yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Why
Like,
not
it's
me?
just, it's getting. That's new muscle memory. I think
Yeah.
just that takes time to
Totally.
talk
So
about,
it's
right?
constant self-talk.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that no men are in here. I wear very good underwear and really nice shoes. Because things happen when you are wearing good underwear. Not the sad underwear. You know it. If you're going to a big meeting, no sad underwear.
I love it. That's
No
your confidence instiller. No, that's
Girl.
awesome. But she's right. Little tricks. I would add in there good bra, guys. Good bras are helpful.
I'm telling you.
But no, I love it. You're doing little tricks like this that can help you feel more confident, right? Maybe it's like your favorite shirt that you always feel like you just know you rock, or maybe
You
it's
know.
that favorite pair of shoes. But it really does help, and that also impacts your personal brand, because your personal brand is when you show up. I'm sure when we showed up on stage, I'm sure all of you guys had some ideas of like, I wonder if this is Lisa. I have some like profiling on her. I have some profiling on Carolyn. Part of it does matter. Every little bit matters in your personal brand. So in addition to benefiting you as a little confidence trick to help deal with the imposter syndrome, it can also help you in your personal brand, right? Exhibition, we'll call it.
Absolutely.
Collecting my shoes, that's why I love shoes too.
Good shoes.
That's my thing too. Oh, well, I really liked how you said, why not me?
Why not me?
Because we constantly ask
It's on a
ourselves,
T-shirt. I really do.
Why
I'm
not
not even
me?
kidding. I'm gonna customize that and just be like, why not me?
Why not me?
I had,
Like, really?
I shared with Carolyn the other day that I had a big presentation, and there was like 108 people, and they were all senior people, and I'm at the company for 8 months, and I have my coworkers who are there for 12 years, but somehow they asked me to present and put slides together, and I was like, why me?
You're a badass.
Why me?
That's
why
why-
me? What do-
You're there to help
Oh,
them.
yeah,
That's
that's
smart.
horrible. And then Carolyn was like, why not?
Exactly. Why not?
Oh, that's so awesome. Next time, ask yourself that question and just give yourself a little bit of humility, because you rock.
There you go.
T-shirts next time. Like,
Yeah.
she's gonna make some money off of it too.
I could-
It's her trademark.
I like
You,
that.
you should start the
Why
line
not
of
me? It's
something.
fine. Sell it on your website.
Why me? Actually, yeah. Why me? Awesome. Oh, okay. Leadership challenges. Can you share a moment when you faced a major challenge as a leader and how you navigated it?
I'll go first. I had, you know what, I love this question because it was my first real leadership role when I was director of strategy, and this was one of the venture-backed tech startups that I did that ended up going public. And we were an international company, and this was in New York. I was the only woman on the team. I was a team lead. I had some guy who I didn't know who was a Brit. I had somebody who was Pakistani, another person who was Indian, and I didn't know at that time. I was like, is the hatred just political hatred, or is it actually like people hatred? Because I didn't know. I had this Chinese man who literally was 6 weeks off of like immigrating, who spoke almost no English, and I'm like, I don't know, right? And they're like, good luck, God bless, get out there, lead that team. I mean, I had like nothing. So I just took it on myself to do what I thought there was to do. And about 8 weeks into it, and let me tell you, this was also really innovative when we had full open floor seating, and we had these huge glass cubes that didn't smoke up when people were in them, right? You would see everybody's meetings. And so the Pakistani guy and the Indian guy came to me and said, hey, we'd like to have a meeting with you. And I said, okay. And we go into the little cube, and they said, okay. I was like, okay. Okay. And they said, why do you ask us what we think? And I was like, that is so challenging because you're on my team and I care about you. I'm like trying to do the soft sell on it. And then one of them said, well, we think you're stupid. Wow. And I went, okay, take a minute. I was like, I've been called a lot of things. Usually stupid isn't one of them. I'm pretty smart. And I was like, okay, care to share. And I thought in my mind, English as a second language is a blunt instrument, isn't it? So I sat there and I said, please go on. And they said, where we come from, a manager tells you what to do. It's not our job to tell you what we think. And I went, oh my goodness, would you like for me to tell you what to do? They said, yes. I said, delighted, done. And here's the learning that I got from that. It was so good because I was like, this is so confusing. Because I had management as a collaborative approach, like many women do, by the way. And I learned in there that it was only one approach that I had in my tool belt, and that I really could take the reins and just tell people what to do, if that is what my team needed me to do. And I didn't understand that until that moment, right? And I got freedom from that. I was like, you could look at it as incredibly insulting, right? But I didn't. Like, there's always, like, I have humility in it. I'm like, is that what they're actually telling me? What are they telling me? That's what they were telling me, and the great thing in the freedom is about being able to step into leadership. And I think as a leader, there's two questions that you ask yourself. One, what kind of leader do I want to be? And there's real thought in that. But two, second question, what is the leader my team needs me to be? And that shapes, depending on what company you're at, where you are, shapes how you're going to lead. So at S&P, I do agile sales team. I do stand-up every day with my team. 3 questions. 1, how are you? Because I actually care. Mostly at S&P, they don't care. I ask a question, how are you? Second question is, where are you stuck? Everyone will tell you all the great things that they want to do, but where they usually don't talk about is what's not working for them. And 3, how can I help you? 3 questions, that's it. Stand up, boom, we're going to roll. We're running this sprint. Let's see how it goes. I run that way in particular because of that team, not because I do that everywhere I go. But this team needs that, right? The other team, right, when I was leading my first team, they needed me to tell them what to do. Did that. There's real power in leadership that way. And being able to harness you may not, and it goes back to, imposter syndrome, you may not feel powerful in that moment, but the authority of your title gives you, it's like wearing a suit. Even if you don't feel that way at the moment, you have that authority to step into it. And that, is the challenge of leadership, I think.
May I ask you one question? Sorry, Carolyn. Did it take you a long time to establish trust for your team to be able to say where they stuck? Because and what was maybe techniques that help you out to do that?
Oh, does anybody want to be like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing? No, but in doing it over and over, and I'll say, this is where I'm stuck. Here's what our numbers are. Like I have a reality conversation that's really clear with no shame. It's like, if we're supposed to be up here and we're over here, I'm like, dudes, because it's all dudes, this is what this is. This is the reality. Right? And when there's no shame, there's just like, here's what's so. When you can be with what that is, there's power to be able to share with that. And people will start trusting you to stand into that, right? Stand into that.
You led by example, basically.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thank you.
I really love how you recognize the need to be fungible in your leadership style, depending on the audience. Because if your outcome you want is for them to be at their best and most effective, and if they say, tell me what to do, okay, then I'll tell you what to do. Other people don't want to be empowered and say, I need steering, but let me cook. And, you know, it's just
Totally.
amazing, right? Yeah, because like you recognize it's not a one-stop shop.
No.
It's very, yeah.
And you may prefer, like, I like a more collaborative approach, but I'm also really good at putting my foot on the gas and go, fire's over there, run, right? And I can get, we're just going, right? And not everybody does that. And you need to be able to harness what that thing is about you, right? That makes that work. And when you can do that and produce a result over again and ongoingly, trust gets built that you can do those things.
For me, I think the two things that come top of mind that you were asking about, challenges being a leader, right?
Yeah. And you both are having the roles in such a male-dominated environment.
Yeah.
That's why it's particularly interesting on how you deal with those issues.
So for me, one of my first challenges when I was first a leader was thinking, like, totally newbie mistake. Everybody has to like you. Freaking mistake, guys, right? This was years ago, by the way, luckily, not just last year. But years ago, for real. And you just think, I gotta make sure everybody likes me. I gotta make decisions that make everyone happy. Fail, because at the end of the day, you are a steward for the company. And ideally, you do what's best for the company and the team, right? But that was amateur hour mistake. We'll never forget that as long as I live. Another challenge of being a leader, I think, recently-ish, was one of the drawbacks, I will say, being the first of something, is that there's a lot of scrutiny on you. Right? So when you're the first woman role, like I was the first female engineering lead, and I was also the first female engineering lead that made partner. And there's a lot of scrutiny because they're like, what is Carolyn going to do? Is she going to mess up? So the challenge there is to make sure that you balance, you know, and lean into, like I said, being vulnerable and saying, I need help. It's okay to say, I have questions. I don't know what the answers are. But the scrutiny is stressful, for sure. Right? Some of it is real and some of it's self-imposed.
100%. The scrutiny can just make you crack. It is, this is probably so revealing. I've never been so hard as a person because I could take almost anything. I'm like, you're going to bring that over here? You're going to, I will go to the mat. If somebody comes and brings something that's like ridiculous, I'm like, oh no, no. I just don't have the patience anymore. It's not nice. But, and in financial services, I'm like, there's a lot of arrogance out there, right? And there is a lot of looking at you, and I'm like, yeah, no thank you. You know, and I'll give you another visualization inside of it. And the scrutiny is, so I always dress better than I have to. I always, as we like to say in New York, I do come correct when I show up somewhere, you know, and it's always funny. It's like my husband's always like, there's my wife, she's going to come correct with that, right? I met somebody
who came up with that slang? Is that New York slang? I love it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it.
Oh, please. Yeah, there's my wife. She's going to come correct and all that. So, you know, there is a certain uniform that I will always have. And it's not necessarily like it's defensive. It is a statement of power, right? And authority. And I come on my own authority. Because at this point, when all the things that I've been able to do, I need no one's permission. I'm not asking for it. No. And if somebody says there is something, and it is genuinely a mistake, I am not too big to say, I'm sorry, that is not great. Sorry. Like that. But I do come on my own authority. And that will not be messed with in any way. Yeah.
I want to be like both of you when I grow up.
No, you don't. There's so much baggage. That's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other panel. Okay?
When you stop being worried about being nice and being liked, like it's nice if somebody likes you. Isn't that great? That's great. But at this point, like if you're going to battle to go and do an outcome, well, let's go, you know.
Yeah.
Let's go.
They'd be like, oh, I missed my numbers, this quarter, but hey, I was really nice.
I still really like
Oh, wow.
you guys, or whatever it sounds like, right? It doesn't, no.
A couple years ago, my friends gave me a book, How to Stop Being Nice, because I was too nice. And it was a reality check for me. I'm like, okay, maybe I should stop being nice.
But it's really hard because
It is hard.
because you want to look at the human side of the teams you're working with, the colleagues
Yeah.
you're working with, right? You want to make sure that you're balancing, okay, am I over-indexing on the leadership side? That balance between leadership and being that steward of the company, and then the human side. It's hard. It's an ongoing thing, and it's on also a per-person basis. So it's challenging.
Yeah.
It can be dealt with, though, but yeah, it's like being too nice doesn't help, because in the day, you will be accountable for something, and then the buck stops there. So you have to remember that, because remember, this is not friendships, this is not charity, this is business, right?
And it's really hard. When you come to workplace, you feel like, oh, this is my friends. Or
Yeah.
you want to feel like belonging. And then you do all the work. And then it's a reality check. Maybe you should stop doing that. And we had a session on the cultural, differences before that with WTech, and it's interesting, Lisa, you mentioned that with Indian culture, they like to be told what to do more. So Culture Map is a really good book to read if you haven't had a chance, because it talks about different styles of from different cultures, how they work in business and so on. So I think it can help establish you relationships with your coworkers, understand them better, because sometimes we can be like, oh my God, this person doesn't understand me, or it's just because they grew up in a different environment, and we should be just more aware of what's going on in the world. And so we highly recommend that. Okie dokie. So, sorry. Another question is on self-advocacy. How can women advocate for themselves without feeling like they're bragging?
Lisa's ready to go. Look at her. She's like,
No,
I got this.
I'm good throwdown. No.
And maybe examples you can share,
I feel like there is a space where we're like, here's the humble brag, right? But what we want to be talking about is not, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did. What's the impact? The project that I spearheaded had an impact of XYZ. I'm really proud that we were able to do this. Here's my team, and I want to thank them, right? You never do it alone, right? Nobody gets anywhere by themselves, right? And it seems like all of the stuff you see on LinkedIn all the time, and people are like, well, I'm just really, glad to say that I did this, and these people said, no, we all did this. We all did this. This was, the project I spearheaded. Here is the impact. This is the outcome, right? These are the people we helped. And always adding, these are the people we helped. Has it not sound like, the rich kid when you're 10 who gets to go to Disneyland and travel with their family when your family doesn't have any money, and you're like, that's great. And they're like, here's these pictures. We went over here. I took a lot of pictures with Goofy. Okay, well, that was great when you were 10. How do we talk about our work now? How do we talk about our work as an adult? What are we out to do?
I love it you mentioned impact and outcomes, because people get hung up on the task they did, and they think more and low level is better. It's like, no. You could have done this task that was actually a 2-hour task that actually had the impact that was like ripple effect, right? Halo effect, everything. It's not about the quantity, it's the quality, and you measure absolutely on impact and outcome. And I want to add to that, only thing I have to add is, if you tell a story, it's all about storytelling.
Yeah.
You've seen, guys, come on, Instagram pictures of stylists I follow with that before and after haircuts. I'm just like, okay, if you only saw the after, like the haircut, you'd be like, okay, it's nice. But you saw the before, you're like, oh my God, right? And same thing, renovation projects. You go, that house was a hoarder home, oh my God.
Right.
And now it's just gorgeous, like multi-million. So if you can tell the story of before, this was the problem statements, and the after, and you wrap it up with the impact and the outcomes, that's how you get ahead. That's how you really like advocate for yourself, and that's how you can demonstrate why you deserve that raise, that promotion, that bonus, et cetera, that new role, those new responsibilities. Because you're sticking to facts, but you're storytelling, not just laundry list of the tasks. It doesn't get anywhere if you go that route.
Very cool. I keep reminding everybody, just track what you've been doing at work in Excel sheet, before and after.
Oh my God, seriously, I love it. People, I can't remember what I did yesterday, guys, right? So if you go, you're trying to build your CV when you need it, you're gonna miss out on all the amazing impact and outcomes that you were able to contribute to and drive.
Yeah.
So definitely keep track of all the things you've done ongoing, like almost like a work journal. That way at the end of the year, when you have to do your year-end review, your mid-year review, you can synthesize and glean the impact stories that we're talking about. Otherwise, you're not gonna remember, you're gonna forget something.
Yep.
And that's terrible, because you're gonna leave amazing, amazing impact on the table, right? Yeah. Again, I have a memory of, what's that fish from that movie, that Disney movie? Dory. I think I'm Dory, so I'm like, I have to follow this route, you know? So thank you for putting that in. That's a very actionable thing. I definitely love it.
I learned it the hard way when you start putting your resume together and you're like, what did I do at this place? Okay.
Plus, you learn to manage up your manager, by the way, who can't spend any time paying attention to you. Yeah. Yeah. And also keep a hard copy on the side just in case something goes wrong. Just so you know. Little backup never hurt.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Documenting everything is really important.
So important.
I teach my coworkers all the time. I'm like, also leading by example. You just need to document everything.
Everything.
People don't do that, to be honest. Which is
thinking about it, they think I'll do it later, but you're not going to remember anything later. That's the problem.
No, you forget everything that you'll do.
well, yeah, definitely forget everything next Monday. The role of sponsors. So we know there are mentors, but there are sponsors at work that help you, grow in your role. So what role sponsors play, do you think, in career advancement? How to identify that sponsor, the right sponsor at work, and how to build a good relationships, or maybe some examples from your life you can provide?
So I want to make sure everyone understands there's a difference between mentor and sponsor, okay? A mentor can be anybody. They give you some advice, coaching. A sponsor is putting their political capital forward for you. And it's a whole new ball game, because everyone's like, I can be a mentor easy, but to find that person at work to be your champion and put their political capital out there to advocate for you is harder. And to find someone that you can go and take that relationship to that level, it's almost like being on a dating app. You swipe left and you swipe right, because not everyone is going to have that dynamic you want, right? Some people, my style is very much like, be very forthcoming, be very direct. Don't give me a bunch of filler words, and just tell me things how they are, right? So your style definitely matters to impact your relationship with your sponsor, so that they feel like they get to know you, because the more they get to know you, they're going to be able to advocate for you beyond the transactional, right? So you have to just constantly be open and minded and willing to meet different people, even those outside of your group. I think people make a mistake and they make their own bubble. Your bubble, I mean, I've got another homework assignment. If you guys want me to tell you later, it's actually quite telling. You start writing down, I can tell you now, screw it. You write down top 5 people at work, okay, their names that you feel like the closest to. Next to each name, you write down, okay, what's their title, okay? Next, you write down what is their functional area, right, or discipline. Next, you write down where they live. And next you write down, right, their level. Are they junior, senior? So you start to get these dimensions to your network and your bubble that you're starting to realize, like, oh, wait, I'm not going to do myself any favors because my sphere of influence is so contained. Because when you want to build that sponsorship, it really comes down to who is going to advocate for you beyond just in your immediate group. It can be somebody else in a different group that has the key to the relationships that can elevate you, get you injected in the right things.
Does it need to be a person of a more senior position?
It has to be.
Yes.
If they have political capital, it has to be someone who can, someone who has influence. Absolutely. And that's going to tend to be usually more senior people. But yeah, it's about getting to know people organically, but don't just make it like, I'm going to meet everybody. Be deliberate. Again, who are you really going to connect with? Like, I don't deal well with people who are very like stoic and stuck up. It's weird. I don't like that. So you just get to know people and then gravitate naturally, organically towards the people you think that you want to stay in touch with, right? And then the developing of the relationships part is a whole other conversation, though, because usually senior people that are sponsors are very busy, right? And so you have to figure out your own elevator pitch to make it so that they are going to want to get to even know you, make time in their busy calendars. That's a whole other conversation that we can talk about.
Yeah, everything she said. You know, part of it is what you're looking for. Difference between mentor and sponsor is the word advocate. Having an advocate. You know, I co-authored a book with he's my work daddy. He was my first boss in professional services when I got out of grad school. I couldn't have walked into a better, it was just like magic, right? It was super rando, and he just was like amazing. And he called me up. I mean, we've known each other for 20 years. He called me up one day. He was like, Lisa, we need to write this book together. I was like, okay, I'm listening. If he said, Lisa, we need to jump off of the Brooklyn Bridge together, I'm going to hold your hand. I'm like, I'm listening. I'm listening. All right. You know, because he was so amazing inside of being so helpful in being able to say, well, here's the raw brain power that goes over here, but obviously I hadn't been in corporate. Obviously, I mean, I just got out of grad school, right? I didn't know anything, and he's like, okay, this is how this is going to go. So not only was he like a guide for me in there, but he was an advocate to help me get through roadblocks, or help me be able to get other training, or help me be able to get promoted, or, you know, any of those kinds of things. And looking for someone who is an advocate for these kinds of things is really, really, it's incredibly important. And if you don't have anybody at the company you work at that is an advocate, or you're in a role that would allow you to be one, that either you should be an advocate or you should look for another role somewhere where you can figure out that leveling up, you know, internal resources, people in the company is important. Because if it's not, and you don't have an advocate for you, it's very difficult to move through the organization.
There are different forums I found that could be effective. I found effective myself to find advocates. So you look at affinity groups, right? You look at employee resource groups. That's where you can get first connections and touch points, get creative, yeah. Right? Absolutely. There's also just even something as simple as company events like happy hours, right? Yeah. You'll usually find that senior folks will show up to those to connect and make relationships. So you have to just be willing, again, to do the homework, put the time in. These don't just suddenly materialize overnight. But the more people you get exposed to, the more people you connect with organically, then you find out what they do, and they find out what you do, and it just starts to be a more organic relationship. You start to have conversations, but you have to have that elevator pitch, which boils into your personal brand. This is all interconnected. But, all of it. But it boils down to just getting creative about how you meet people. That's why I said the bubble exercise is so important. Because if only people you know are the people in your team, you're doing yourself a disservice right there, right? Yeah. It's just insane. Yeah. So diversify your network / your bubble.
Absolutely.
Yeah, coffee machine at the office where you meet this person and then you develop a
really good. If you're remote, the problem is now a lot of people are remote, right? Yeah. And how do you do that? Well, there's still connectivity, right?
Returning to office now.
Some places
unfortunately.
I know. Some places are. They do take advantage of it, but my place is hybrid for sure, and a lot of people don't show up. But you can still do this virtually, guys. Like, again, find out what the resource groups, the employee resource groups are, and the affinity groups, and just other networks. They have it by interest. Sometimes it's like, hey, let's have a dinner fun club at work. That can be virtual, right? So just find ways to connect with people, and you'll find different people at different levels. You'll be very surprised.
Yeah, my mentee, was in Belgium, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I know that at Expedia we do have, like, if you can find a person outside the group and like a mentor, whatever you want to call it, but I think that person can also become a sponsor for you because it's not so what I'm planning to do after this. This is done. Okay. My last question for you is, so how do you grow in your career without having a constant burnout? Because I'm sure you put so much hours into growing into this role, and is this something that helps you to not having a burnout?
I would tell you, I know I did get burned out. I would tell you guys right now, when again the more senior you get, the more stakes there are, the more scrutiny there is, the more pressure there is to deliver. Right? Mistakes are just really hard to come far and few between. So I definitely got burnt out because my last company, I was doing 2 roles and 2 very different sets of responsibilities, and I was working like 18, 19-hour days.
Oh, it's horrendous.
And it was a lot. So definitely got burnt out, and it's insane because if you've ever been burnt out, right? You know what it's like. It's terrible. It affects your mental health, your physical health. My eczema was exploding. My sleep was impacted. I developed acid reflux. I mean, you name it, right? So like, it's just bad. And I think I was struggling with high functioning depression. So like, you just get crispy. So I think it's important for us to talk about the fact that it does happen. And what's important is like the lessons learned about how to avoid it. I should say reduce chances of it happening again. I don't know if you can ever avoid, I don't know, everyone's different. But for me, I'm definitely looking at the signals, and I set like a 3 strikes rule for every company I work for now because of that. And it helps me just maintain my sanity, because otherwise there's no end in sight. There's no such thing as it was going to get easier, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree with so much. Like, we have this, which is really toxic by this way, even though I still do it often, hustle culture, right? I have mad hustle, and I don't know any other way. In some way, it's like I have a lot of octane, and right, I'm like, let's go, people, let's light it up, set it on fire, we're gonna go. You know, I love that. It's like I'm an 11.
Pyromaniac tendencies. That's a different discussion. Let's talk about that later.
You know, so, and sometimes, look, it's really fun. There's like a lot of fun in there. But you have to have some rule setting for yourself, even though you'll be like, no, I want to keep going. No meeting Friday. Have a no meeting Friday. Like literally, no. Unless your client is crying, then you're going to have that meeting. But I have a no meeting. Don't touch me. Don't bother me. Don't Slack me. Don't talk to me. I might be thinking quietly. Whatever is going on, I'm doing that. Second thing for burnout, read a book or a magazine in physical form. Go analog for some real portions. I am not kidding you. My husband and I are buying little phone lockers for the front of our house to stop touching your phone. Stop touching your phone, right? It doesn't have to go to the bathroom with you. Stop touching the phone.
Well, it depends.
Right? I see you. I see you. But right, these are the things that, I mean, although it sounds funny, but these are some practices to put in place. And you must take a vacation. Even in the middle of all the mayhem that you've caused in setting these things in motion, you must take a vacation. You don't have to go anywhere, right? You might be like, I can't afford a vacation. Just don't work. And also go out in nature. Go out in nature.
Nature heals. I 100% agree.
And I have an insane workout schedule. I go every morning. I'm up at 4:50 every day. Why? Because I have a win every day. Means I go to the gym and I do something before I ever start the day. And it helps you just keep a bead on how, like, your mental health. Are you together? You know, do I have like an insane drive to do something else? You know, at least you get a win in the morning, and it gives you a little bit of perspective. But burnout means you lose perspective. Yeah, it's really hard.
And a quiet time, probably you have in the morning.
Yeah, like the restorative moments throughout your day, because sometimes it is hard to take the vacations for sure, but if you don't balance it with the restorative moments in your day, that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah.
So if it's something as simple as 10 minutes to go and, like, I like to play with my dog, you know, in the backyard and chase him around.
Yeah.
Or like if I just go and FaceTime my sister, that makes me feel restored.
Yeah.
We just shoot the shit for 5 minutes and it's like awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta go.
You're
and
like,
so
okay,
like
great.
find whatever moments you can to reduce that
Yeah.
chance of burnout. Because when you're on autopilot, you're on fumes, you're just in execution mode is when you get into trouble because you're now blinders on and you don't recognize the signs until it's bad.
Yep. Yep.
One of my favorite exercise throughout the day, if I'm working from home, because we do hybrid, I took my shoes off and go outside and stand in grass
Oh, that's great.
for like 5-10 minutes and just.
This is so wholesome. I'm writing this down.
I know.
I call it the grounding technique. I just
Oh.
ground myself for a little bit and then go
Very
back
nice.
to everything. Thank you so much for sharing all this amazing nuggets and piece of advice and insights into your careers. We really appreciate it. And I think we're open to the QA session.
Yeah.
Yes,
If anyone
we
has
have
a
a
question.
microphone here, so you have a question, I'm gonna get to you. So,
If anyone has a question, don't be shy.
first, and
I tried to make this in the middle. Oh, is it working? Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
The baby has a question for sure.
Yes, for sure.
It's like, why me?
When you were talking about being nice, this is something, I know Olia well. We're good friends, and we talk about this. Because I think we're nice people. How do you, I think for women, though, it's a little bit more about, there's more to it. So there's being nice, right? Being too nice, but then there's what happens to women when you are, I think that, how can I word this? So when men are leaders and men are authoritative and men are not being nice, that's okay. But if women are in that position and they're not being nice, we get called things. So how do you deal with that as a woman specifically? Does that make sense?
So it doesn't mess up with your mental health as well, because that might be your nature, and then once you like this might be your.
But kind and nice are different.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. I think people conflate the two, and I think you have to be very careful that you're looking at it the right way. Being nice is like, I think it's a slippery slope to being a doormat versus being kind, but you can be constructive, right? And so there's a great line from Brene Brown, if you guys are familiar with her. She's amazing, right?
Oh yeah,
She's
we
like-
went with Trisha actually, and we saw her at the
She's
women.
awesome. I love her.
Once.
Like-
So sorry.
No, she's amazing. And she's going to be actually moderating something with Melinda Gates, actually, at the Paramount coming up, which I'm going to. I can't wait.
Yeah.
But she has a great line. She says, clear is kind, and unclear is unkind. Very different from being nice. Like, nice to me means something like, oh, I'm going to bring you, like, cookies if you're feeling sick, versus a coworker's having a struggle, and it's on them. They're not committing something where they're, like they're distracted and they're not doing their best work. You can be kind, but firm, right? Nice doesn't equate, they're different. So please do think about that. And I'm curious about the context you're using it in. Like, is it nice or kind, right?
I
And
just
firm,
think that it's.
like-
Just, I'm talking about stereotypes for women.
Oh,
You know, we even if we're kind, sometimes if we're not kind, I don't know. There's a stereotype that we have to deal with that I don't think men have to deal with, and that can be tough.
I agree with that. And you know how, put on your good underwear and get out there, ladies. And the thing is I'm going to say a B word, and I'm going to tell you a super quick story. So this was in New York City, and I had to do, and I had, like, you just learn lessons, right? I couldn't have imagined. And I had just come from a situation where somebody called me a very unkind name, and I was walking back to the apartment, and I stopped at a bodega, and this was very Texas of me at that time, by the way. There was a woman who was arguing with the cashier, and they were doing whatever, and it was unpleasant, and the lady walks out, and I walk up to the cashier, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And I was like, it comes out, and I'm like, that's just just stupid question, Lisa, And she looked at me, and she goes, she called me a effing B like it was a bad thing. And I said, you know what? That happened to me today, too. And she just was up in attitude, and I went, yeah. That happened to me. And now you could call me that, and I'd be like, well, good you. Yay, you. Because there is only so much. Well, here's my example. So I have a dog. She's really adorable. She looks like the little Target dog. And so when we go out in the morning, I go and she does her business, and I pick it up and have a little bag, and here's her poop. Now, let's say I walked up to you after my dog went, and I wanted to give you this big bag of poop. She's a little dog, but she does go. And I'm giving this to you. Are you going to take it? And I think psychically, we get handed these big bags of poop that people are walking around with, and we think we just have to pick them up. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for giving me that poop. Oh, very helpful. Oh, I needed that. I didn't know I needed it. Thank you. Sure, I'll get rid of that for you. And I kind of am like, just stop taking the bag of poop. Because we're not going to outrun or outlive those stereotypes.
Yeah.
It's just what culture is, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's what it is. I can't imagine how many times I have been called the F&B. You know, behind my back to my face, you know. And it comes to a point where you're like, what are you going to do with that? That big bag of poop? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to take it, or are you just going to leave it and go, have a nice day?
I mean, your remark about the assertiveness thing, and it can be misconstrued, right, as bossy or whatever the heck. Like she said, this is going to be around forever, so you have to decide how you want to react to it, and you have to be willing and comfortable to set boundaries. Again, firmly and kindly, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay, because otherwise they're going to continue to see you as a doormat, and they're going to continue to not treat you in the way that you should be treated at work.
Right.
So boundaries are hard to set. Saying no, just like not being nice all the time. Being nice is good, by the way. It's just about the right context, like giving you cookies because you're sick versus taking your bags of dog poo for the 50th time, right?
Yeah.
So if people are giving you, for example, tons of like non-promotable tasks, you have to be able to say, thanks, but I don't have capacity, you know, I suggest you ask so-and-so, for example. Right? You being nice and saying, sure, I'll take it on, but you getting time away from the high-value impact tasks because you're doing the non-promotable tasks. Like, can you clean that coffee machine again this week? And can you also take out the recycling? It's like, no.
No.
You can be kind and firm and set boundaries.
We forget to be kind to ourselves first.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. Be nice to yourself, right? There you go. Give yourself
It's really hard to do.
Yeah, but yeah, just in general, as you deal with the dynamics, it's hard, right? The people can misconstrue things, but at that point, I would recommend, like I've done this. I've definitely had a one-on-one conversation, a sidebar. I'm like, hey, can we talk after that? And you just confront it, you know? Like, you just have to deal with it head on right after it happens and just talk and say, hey, that made me feel kind of funky. I'm not sure what your intention was. Can we talk about that? That was kind of weird. And most of the time, you find people are not aware that you've been doing something, but confront it as soon as you can in a constructive way. And that way is how you can stop some of these bad behaviors from happening versus letting it slide, you know?
I'm glad you can hear it from someone else, but not me. Rather than me, this advice.
Yeah,
she
just,
needed it.
Gonna pass it to another person, but just a small thing for myself. Like I like how Caroline said, like say no, because and to your point, like women are much more often doing so-called non-promotable tasks. Like men are not gonna be asked to, hey, can you order lunch for us, even though there's executive assistant to do so, or like, hey, have you booked this meeting room? So it's just like saying no. It's really important.
If I could just add something, so there's a difference. Like, if you came to my house, I would say, hey, do you want water? Would you like coffee? Can I get you something? We have snacks. You know, I want people to be comfortable. Never would I ever at work, ever get anybody coffee. No, because it's a different context. And also for women, we forget the difference between a personal, right? Being nice and kind to people on a personal level versus what is actually happening. And just be reminded, in a place of commerce, when we create new business value, right, the exchange of that is a monetization. You are working in a monetized environment. Very different than when my neighbor comes over and I want to give you coffee and water and snacks and things like that and be generous. And I have a really kind heart. I am a really nice and good person, but I still will tell you no 6 different ways at work. Like, no, we're just not doing that. I know my own mind.
Thank you.
I had a question. We've all had our projects or programs that might be unrewarding, unfulfilling. I'm curious, like your experience as leaders, like how you've kept teams motivated during the whole time. on those projects?
So one of the things that I think makes any project fulfilling and worthwhile is figuring out where your team members have a particular skin in the game. Is there something that they need to learn for that they feel that they can get excited about? Is there some other challenge that we can put in to run alongside? Anytime we can have personal outcomes for our team members that are aligned with the professional activities that we have to do, they will find value in it because it's in a with them. What's in it for me? And if we can align this thing and go, I know this isn't the most amazing, breakthrough, innovative project, said, no, it's not, right? This isn't that super cool. But what it can do is help you build XYZ, which is what I know you wanted.
I think that's a really good point. When you have a project or initiative, right, there's different roles to play. There's different things to get done. Instead of waiting to be assigned something, find out the most interesting parts that are your interests and your fortes and say, I would love to do this, and volunteer. Not only does that give you a better optics of like, hey, that person's stepping up, but also it's going to be something you will enjoy more out of that thankless maybe initiative or project, right? Versus being assigned the slog part of it that you're not good at, and it would deplete you every day, right? That's terrible. So that, love that you brought that up, like being selective and that stuff. And in terms of like the team, depending on the size and depending on the makeup and composition of the engagement, like if it's all remote versus co-located, like there are different things you can do to make people feel more motivated. Like when we had COVID, right, everyone was remote. And people were definitely getting down the slogs of like, oh my God, everything's transactional. I can't look at my kitchen or my office wall another day. Like we definitely made moments where we connected. We took a break, right? We do team events. We would fund it. We send people like vouchers for lunch, and we would just have an hour. We had a rule. The first person talks about work has to pay for everybody's lunch next time. So like, there's just different ways you can get creative to have people just feel like they're in it together. In addition to getting allocations of responsibilities and roles based on what people will be most effective at and have the best way to step up and say, hey, I'll get to learn a new skill out of this thing or something, right? There's no black and white answer, but it depends. I don't know what it sounds like you're maybe in a project like that right now. Which is why you're asking. We can talk more about that afterwards too, but like, love to be a sounding board.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. You guys can. They want to switch me because I am need to go. So sorry. They're going to switch me for a second. I have 20 more days left.
Thank you for coming.
Exciting.
Thank you for having us.
She will come
too.
back.
Not leaving, but I just.
I know, but
You gotta go.
okay.
But
Ola,
she
go.
has to go. Yeah.
So the question,
She's so adorable.
how do you think, what your skills or your mindset or maybe something, what helped you to move through your way till this position where you are now? How do you think, what is maybe the most important, your skill or your mindset help you to move through all this not easy way? Thank you.
Want me to go first? Yeah. I would say the soft skills. Focusing on practicing communication, effective communication is always going to help anybody. And being open-minded is another thing. I think sometimes when you get more senior, you're very sometimes in like execution mode, and that A-type in you comes out a lot more. But stepping back and being open-minded and listening to people. I think there's 3 ways I was taught you can listen. You can listen to learn, you can listen to fix, and you can listen to win. And I think just learning how to listen to learn is hard for me. I'm just like communication in general, that's a big component of effective communication, listening. And listening just sometimes to learn, and then not automatically listening to fix. But these are little things I think that are helpful for me. It's the soft skill stuff, it's not the hard skill stuff. It's these things that involve direct interactions with people that make that an interaction effective and a good outcome or not. Like come on, if you're not listened to, it's awful. You're like, whether it's your partner or a friend or a boss, you're just like, please just freaking listen to me, right? So that's why it's important in effective communication, I think, for me, just the more senior I get, I'm finding those two things are just huge, listening to learn.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that. I would agree 100% with that. But I also would look at making a leap oftentimes means in some ways paradigm breaking. Can you create new value? I always think about that, right? I'm never the one, like if you wanted to say, hi, we have a $500 million business and we would like for you to run accounts payable. I am not your girl. You don't want me to do that, because I'd be like like once I know how to do it, I lose interest. Like I'm just not interested in, more of the same that, keeps on and keeps on that way. I'm the person you bring in when you're like, this, I don't know. And I'm like, hang on, right? I'm like, that's interesting to me, this whole thing. Right? I've built a lot of frameworks and strategies, launched a lot of things and blew things up, and, spectacularly flamed on some things and made some incredible things happen. But that's because, when you can target what it is that you're doing now and to look at, the question is, how do I make new business value that grows one to many in an exponential way? Like if you can, and that means you're focused on, and I said it before, but like setting it on fire. Like how do I do that and set that up? That's amazing. It's also a really cool, like there's alchemy in there when you figure out how do you move something that way. And that's super cool. That's like my special magic right there. So you want to be able to look at what's your special magic. And how do you take that and conjure up how you make change from where you are to not only just where you want to go, but what change do you want to make out there, right? And then bring it to life. You're welcome.
Hi, I wanted to ask, in companies where you work or worked, did you have or do you have special like women empowering growing programs? And them, if you do, I think you do. My question is how to balance to make it fair, like considering women are underrepresented and considering giving equal opportunities for all genders, right? How are you managing this and what are your thoughts?
I'm not sure I think I understand the question. Sorry.
If you have some women growth program within the company when you just pick women and give them additional opportunities of learning extra, like networking extra, this will bring them to career growth. And at the same time, if men in the company, they do not have this opportunity, how we are balancing, empowering women within the business and at the same time, keeping things fair for all people in the company, how this is done, and what are your thoughts about this?
So it's not about fair or not, right? I think the point of advocacy, the point of advocacy groups is to help with support and empowerment and network and relationship building. Doesn't mean that just because there's a group of women in the ERG, I'm going to suddenly go, I'm only going to deal with them and promote them and talk to them. No, it's about that connectivity for support and empowerment so they can go off and do other things. But it can lead to opportunities, don't get me wrong, but that's not the intention of these ERGs. So there's not a situation where I'm looking at two people where it's a man and a woman and I'm only ever going to pick the woman. That's not how this works, right? That's not how anybody should work. I don't need a handicap to get ahead. I have my own capabilities to get me ahead, right? It will always still come down to merit, but if they're both equal, yeah, I will probably go with a woman, for sure, because we don't have enough representation, but that's not to say I will automatically defer to only women for something. If someone is not as good at engineering as the dude, I'm gonna go the dude. It's nothing about me hating women. It's I'm responsible for getting things done. But again, those ERGs and those advocacy groups are about helping support them so they can get those opportunities and have a seat at the table and have a voice at the table and be exposed to opportunities in the organization they didn't have, right? That's what that's about, but not about unfair treatment and bias to men. I think that some men may think that happens, which drives me effing nuts. Like that's a whole other conversation too, I feel like, but I'll let you answer, but that's the view just I have.
I agree with all that, but I also don't think that there should be a barrier. If a man wants to join the women's group, they should be able to come, just in the same way that women should be allowed to join any man's group that happens. So in our company, we do have a women's networking for success, but also other groups that encourage both genders. But I would never put a barrier up that says because of your gender you cannot come.
Yeah, what you'll find is men usually won't join these
They don't want to.
groups. But I remember at my last company, we did have a network called Men for Change, and they were male advocates for women. But at the end of the day, I get it. Like, if I'm in a women's group, I want to be able to talk about women things and not worry about making that man uncomfortable. You're talking about underwear. You were already like, is there a guy here? Right? The benefit of women's groups is you can talk about things like bras and underwears as your way to feel comfortable in a situation, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's
specific.
No.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's an advantage to having these affinity groups and these ERGs to give them that safe space to talk about stuff. But you're right. No, there's nothing that ever says you can't join as a man. Like, I've just never seen that happen. But I would love it because I would love them to have the ear of women and hear what women think about. That's why the Men for Change group existed, to give them that inside view and this is what we have to deal with this crap all the time, guys. Welcome, right? But I think there's a balance you find with these groups because it's about safe space to talk about things, but also getting them to lean in and understand what's happening. They will never understand until they listen, right? They'll listen to learn. More men should do that, absolutely. And if they want to join, I'd be happy. Just I don't want them to be weirded out by things that women talk about. I want to be able to have unbridled conversations about whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what they have to sign up for.
Never heard about that group before anywhere. That's awesome that they had it.
This was I worked at a management consulting firm.
Yeah.
And it was great. One of the affinity groups was Men for Change. So it was fantastic. But it's a great way to look at, because they understand the representation of men is higher than women at the level. So they wanted to have men just be tapped into what women are struggling with. Just awareness really helps.
I'll plant the seed for my coworkers.
I love it. Please do.
Actually, hi, just quick question. And thank you so much, dear speakers, for the conversations and for topics. So many things resonate. And speaking about the resource group, we do have in our company the same, and sort of female allies who join and have something
Allies, that's the word,
yes, who have something to contribute. So we started this whole conversation with a kind of set topic that not so many role models are there. So I wonder your maybe current or maybe some role models that you have for yourself. Again, somebody in your companies, in the industry, read, podcasts, anything. So I'll take any names to follow.
From a business standpoint, I mean, I don't look at who I listen to as role model, or I don't think about it in that context. Maybe, I love that Brene Brown and Melinda Gates is doing some amazing work with her foundation, and Jeff Bezos' old wife, the other wife,
no,
right,
she's
Mackenzie, right? She is doing beautiful work in philanthropy, and I think it's amazing. I feel like I haven't had a North Star where I have a woman and I go, that's the career I want, is what she's done. I don't really have that. I don't know if you do, but I feel like having those, whether it's a mentor or people close enough to you that either you could do, I call it the kitchen cabinet, right? The people who care about you, who help you and help you rise. And I think more so that has been really helpful too. And again, those key people in key roles who've helped me.
No, that's a really good. I don't have a female role model actually. I mean, guys, I've been working for 25 plus years. I just got my first female boss, okay?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's not something that's
right?
ever been top of mind. I mean, I've seen the absence of women, but I've never had a female role model. And my boss now, she's awesome, but I don't know if I look at her like a role model. I just see her, she's really badass. You know, I mean, I guess maybe that's a role model. But yeah, I feel like I take more value out of the women that I think have inspirational things that they're doing. And I just feel like I'm driven by what they do, and I'm just inspired by that. But I don't personally have a role model either, which is that bad? I don't know.
I don't know, but I've hardly had women and women, but like,
right?
And you can get inspired by your peers, you know, your neighbor who does help elderly or does some volunteer work, and just look at the example. So like something they do, their values or something, and just get inspired and adopt some of the practices they do. I think that's also a good thing.
I think the key word here is inspire. Like, I think the more I think about it, that's the important thing. Like, there's an amazing friend of mine. She is a judge here in town, and she fights. Her name is Judge Dimple Malrotra, and she fights domestic violence. She's a judge that oversees domestic violence cases. She's a badass. I'm like, I have the biggest girl crush on her. But is she a role model? No, but she's incredible, and I definitely am like, you're amazing.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I'm trying to understand, like, role model, like, does that mean someone you want to emulate? If you define it that way, she is a role model. I'm like, she's amazing. But at work, I feel like, it's just more like, I really appreciate like what my boss is doing, right, what she's doing for me. I'm also helping her in different ways too. It's just like, it feels different. It's less of a role model, explicit, thing. It just feels inspiring and rewarding. So I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
It's very good because role model has become such a cliche as a word that's kind of reused, and just wanted to connect the dots. The things that we started. Maybe this is good that we don't have and we didn't have the role models because we became who we are. Kind of connecting those. Oh, this was nice, or nobody did that. I pick it up, and this is this whole kind of authenticity to the result. How we maybe as leaders become.
Yeah, but definitely seeing female leaders inspires me, no doubt. Like the head of the Americas in Oliver Wyman was a woman named Terry Stone, badass. Like, talk about her dealing with a bunch of crap. Oh my God, seriously, a bunch of FS guys, like financial services, as you know, is a very bro culture. In her, it was just like, she took care of business. So she was a role model, but she was a badass.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, we have last question here, and then we'll proceed to networking, but one more.
You've both had impressive careers. You've reached a level where you are leading a lot of people, operating at a very high level. What does your next evolution look like for your life? I'm curious what's in your future, what you're excited about. Where do you go from here? Because so many women in this room are hoping to get to your level one day. And then what from this moment of where you are today?
Great question. We talked with you, Lisa, today about this. A little bit.
So, I mean, for me, I feel like there's still some ground I would like to cover in a leadership position here, but maybe within 5 years, I'd like to go be a portfolio manager and then go and be one of those women on boards that we don't have that many of, and would really like to help drive corporate governance and good behavior, perhaps, and things like that I think are really, really important. So I'm going to probably stay inside corporate for another couple of years while I'm building that portfolio management and what I want from that. Because again, clarity and vision helps you be able to shortcut how you're going to get where you want to go and really hone what is it that I want to do with portfolio management. And then portfolio management leads to board roles, hopefully. And that's what, I want way more women in corporate governance. I think that women can really drive so much change in corporate, and as I've spent so much time in corporate, I really see that change is coming from the board.
I love that. Yeah. For me, I think my next path is going to be CIO, and then after that, I think I want to go and be either working as an advisor for VC firms, PE firms, and help to manage maybe their portfolio of companies and be an advisor. So like, there's just, for me, that natural evolution, because I want to control my time, et cetera. So if I'm an advisor, I don't have to worry about, leading a big group of people anymore. There's a lot of responsibility, but now this is about just advisory. And maybe see the activation of some of the thinking, but just that freelance life, I think I did it for a short stint. It was very rewarding. In fact, it's how I came to my role at my last company. I thought it'd be a 3-month contract at Oliver Wyman. The company looked boring, and I loved it so much, I stayed for 12 years, right? So that's another thing we can talk about too, if you have questions about that. But for me, it's reclaiming my time as I get older is so important. I feel like I'm just slowing down. I'm just like, what restores me, I'm finding is really just becoming more front and center. I need more nature. Like I gotta be by mountains, and I want to make sure I maximize that time in nature and minimize the time stressed out. Because I feel like for a large portion of my life, I've just run hot. I just need to just step back and enjoy life before I'm like, 95 years old and don't remember my name. It's not a good look, right? So that's my plan. Not sure if that's something that's interesting to y'all, but like getting to that advisory point is interesting.
Yeah.
And you can call your own rates, you can call your own schedules, you can call your own clients, and I think that's exciting.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm ready to be by mountains too. But I have still ways to go. They're very restorative. Thank you, everyone. We had an amazing session. Thank you, our speakers, for sharing all these gems.
Thank you for having us.
We loved having you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Yeah.
I think now we can just network a bit.
We'll just have a real quick picture with everyone, and then we are good to have a networking. And if you parked here in the garage, please come find anyone like me or Lucy for the parking validation. But the photo first.
Let's do the photo. And with children too. It was very active, our member today. Closer to each other, please. Closer, yeah. I will see that, who can follow us, one man will come to follow us. So, I will see, is it okay or no? One moment. I don't want the chairs will be there. Last time it was, it was bad. Oh, Magic eraser. Julia. One moment. Natalia, come here. I don't know where I say. Right. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, smile. Cheese. One more. Again, please. Smile. Again. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. This was so fun. Exactly. That was so fun. You do remember meeting the university? Yes, I did. Yes. I do. Well, I mean, I'm only an adjunct because I've just been like, you like the Meetup? It's very messy.
I don't know. Some things I can relate, some things were so absurd, so I sometimes just thought, what are they talking about? I have no idea.
Or else I wouldn't know how to like.
You're not in the leadership position.
No, I just roll in.
No. I'm also not in the
Great.
leadership position, but
I know.
it was interesting for me to understand different type of person. I can see the answer, so they can advocate for themselves and grow. And what did you understand?
have a plan, to have a framework, and to have a clear path where do you want to be.